Good afternoon, good evening, welcome. I'm here. I am Pamela Aaralyn, and I feel really honored to be here with our lovely host and channel facilitator, Priscilla Louise. She's an amazing channel of her own rights and wonderful teacher. Can you tell us where we can find you? So many people are asking lately how to get in touch with you because of the powerful work that you're doing, and I love it when you can give us a moment to talk about your work and how we can find you, please.
Okay. Well, I'm Priscilla Lewis, and you can find me on priscillalewis.com. I am a quantum healer. I also do beyond quantum healing, which is also a form of hypnosis, which was created by Candice Kroll-Goldman. I do mediumship readings, so I'm a medium as well, just like Pamela. Maybe not as talented.
But that's not true.
But yes, I do mediumship, and I help those that are currently awakening. So I am definitely doing facilitated sessions for those who want to know what's happening and why they're experiencing certain things in this upgrade and ascension we're going through.
Well, I found your work really amazing, and it's given me a lot of peace and comfort and clarity, and it's helped so many, of my clients as well, and my friends and family, and I feel blessed that you always agree to help me. You, Susan, Suna, Mary, Miriam, so many people who have facilitated for me, and I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those of you who have not experienced a Patreon and Crowdcast combination channeling or class before, if you're here for the first time, please know that it would be best if you do have questions to put them in the Ask a Question section right here below Priscilla's lovely face. And you can put them there. Don't put them in chat only because she'll have a harder time following them there, and she's the primary one. Well, actually the only one, because I'm out of here. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm a trance channel primarily these days. In my preference, at least, I channel all the time, whether I'm awake or not, but my preference is to actually go into trance so that I can get out of my own way. And I'll be doing that here in a moment. You could also know that it would be good to be in a Google Chrome browser. That's the best. And if you don't have that, any Windows browser would be successful insofar as being able to type in the Ask a Question section and being able to utilize the chat to type back and forth. If you have any problems with sound, please reload your screen. We're taking these moments to work on our lighting, and once I feel that Russ has all of that the way he wants it to be, then we'll start. Now is the time to tell Priscilla and I if you are experiencing any sound difficulties on our end, and we can correct it. So as soon as some of you lovely folk give us the thumbs up for sound and lighting, we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, she does have a beautiful background, doesn't she? We're good. Thank you, Erin. Thank you. Okay. Russ is still doing just a few adjustments with lights, and once he feels that everything's balanced, we'll start. I have a fan on. Priscilla can't hear it on her end, so if any of you hear it, let me know. It's on low. My office has been a little hot this summer here in Utah. Yes, there is a line in the middle of the screen, but that's always there, I believe, between facilitators. Is that what you're seeing, Susan? Could be something that he's doing. He's always playing with light and sound and elements. He's a master of elements and primordial sound. So feel free to ask about that. In H camera, you see a line in each between. Oh, that's really interesting. We don't see it. These kind of things happen with us when she and I are on screen together and we're pulling in some higher beings. Do you see it now? We changed the lighting a little bit. We don't. It's two different people that see lines separating. Yeah. Anybody else see it? It's cutting Priscilla's face. Oh, I don't see
I don't
it.
see anything.
We don't see it.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, um, two people do see it, two people don't. So I don't know what it is.
Well, I guess if people can still see what's going on, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay. It
And
pops in and goes.
if the recording is fine, then I'm sure it'll be okay.
Very fine. Erin says it pops in and then goes out. Okay, well, our editor is going to have a good time. It's a very powerful being.
Okay.
Funny guy, yes. I'm not seeing a lot of humor within him so far. I see a lot of joy and playfulness, but his jokes, quite frankly, are a little dry. They haven't made me laugh yet. He has to tell me when he says a joke, and then he goes, "That's supposed to be funny." Okay. So the humor is a little dry. All right, I'm going to take off that necklace. That bracelet is getting on my nerves for some reason with its energy. Metal's bothering me. Something to do with his energy that when I try to pull him in, metal disrupts me. All right. Gonna drink some tea. And I'm out of here. He doesn't talk much, so feel free to just ask questions right away because I don't imagine that he would introduce himself well. He's a little quiet.
Okay.
Okay, apparently we're not adjusted. I hear motion. Did you move my microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Did my sound change? Russ moved the microphone.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Your hair is the greatest absorption of light amidst your entire being, dear channel. And for those of you here with us today, within the primordial essence of all elements is your very own God nature. The balance of all elements is intricate, yet simple. And the core mind of every essence is the alchemy of God, and that you are. The eye of the eye is blended within sound and light, and the perfect harmony of all that is will be revealed within the simple nature of the miracle. There are two ways to observe life. You may observe life from the eye of God when you see life as not a miracle. You may observe life within the truth and beauty of illumination when, through the eye of God, you continue to turn the lens of the kaleidoscope when everything is a miracle. All of the wisdom of everything I taught you lies within this teaching. I enjoy observing you in this simplicity. Thank you for calling upon my essence once more.
Thank you for being with us today.
There's too much of air.
Would you like us to switch off the fan that you currently have on?
She breathes quite simply and quite profoundly without such essence of air in her lungs. There is a lack of balance and harmony within the element of air for this body, and I cannot operate with any lack of harmony within the primordial essence. Thank you, dear soul. You may continue.
Thank you. We want the channel to be comfortable. Would you be able to adjust the channel or tell her how she can allow more air to enter the body for us to continue?
It is not a problem.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you very much for your opening, especially with the start with the beautiful hair and the energy that it holds. Because I was just thinking about that earlier today. Would you be
Within
able
the nature of the divine feminine, the hair holds the strongest essence of being a receptor for all that is God. And it is necessary for the channel of the Christ to maintain its essence properly.
I think maybe some of our viewers today would ask some questions on that a bit later.
They may if they feel.
So it seems like simplicity is the way to live life, because we as humankind make things so complicated at times. Would you agree?
In my time as a teacher and a student of all that is, the primordial essence was simple in its balance. Within my essence, as an inventore, I understood the nature of original God thought. I shall teach you the nature of wonder. Within my very first teaching and observation on this planet, as a child, I observed the particulates of light, of sound, within the simplicity of the question and the innocence of a child mind is the primordial essence of God. And every alchemist throughout all of your era can attribute to this simple work. Within the innocence and the mind of the child come such profound questions within the law of curiosity, and curiositore is not to be forgotten. Stay in your curious nature. Question everything within the nature of wonder. As a child, my first questions were about the essence of the primordial nature of God within the elements of air, water, earth, light, sound, and fire. And the component of the particulates held all of this together within the nature and container of the mind of God. It is fueled by the fire of wonder. When you do not contain the original thought of God within you. In a similar manner, you would not contain the thought of a child. But your programming in your society seeks to do so. Do not contain the essence of innocence within the nature of curiosity. I began to ask questions. What about the particulates in water? When do they separate? When are they together? How does the rock glide across the lake? Why is the water the same color as the sky? Why is the sky blue? Why is the water the same? And I observed the same nature, and within the sameness of the water and the sky was the nature of God. This connection is not to be forgotten, for then the wisdom of the small animals of nature, you can observe this. Within the first principle of connezione, you observe that all is same, all is connezione. You are connected, you cannot be separate. The smallest bird on the smallest limb creates the biggest waves within the nature of God essence. Remember, you are the inventors. Call upon your unique nature. Remember original thought. You are overstimulated, oversaturated with so much information. And within an overstimulated environment, you seek one answer. Yet you are individual in your essence and still connected as one. You are here to find that sameness and to play with the innocence of a child, to create as your unique inventore, your unique inventor, God within you, shall arise when you call upon the curious nature of the inner child. Do not contain it within the oversaturation of your programmed environments. The greatest ideas of inventore do not arise within a contained nature. You do not receive your greatest ideas when contained. And this is why you would often state, I receive my greatest ideas in the essence of water, when breathing the open air of nature, the water of the running shower, placing my feet upon the soils of earth, primordial nature of earth, opens the nature of you. All of the elements, earth, water, air, ether, sun, metal, wood, they are brought together because of the universal laws of connezione. Remember, you are one, and you are exploring within the idea that you are separate. And while in oneness it is not divine essence of primordial truth, the kaleidoscope of curious innocent wonder creates the most beautiful palette of the artiste.
May I ask my first question?
If you would like.
Thank you. That was amazing how you described wonder and how to use that with the manifestation of life. Could you please share your advice how to master manifestation at these times and how to tap into the wall of creativity and ingenuity?
Remember at all times that you are a microcosm. The macrocosm of God is a reflection of this microcosm, but you have it backwards. You are looking from without, not looking from within. In order to tap into the nature of the senses, you must simplify your senses. You are overstimulated, oversaturated from a mind that is distracted, confounded, confused, and tired. Return to the simple nature of all of the primordial essence within the alchemy that has been given and perfected by the sage, the mystic, the prophet. Your container is empty until you fill it, but you seek the truth and the beauty of God as if it shall be something that would arise externally and strike you, such as the cosmic nature of ether and lightning from the sky of God. This is not the nature of the experimental alchemist. This is not the nature of the inventory. The true, unique inventor within you arises due to creativity when you wonder, and you create the truth and the beauty that you wish to become. You experiment as God. Experiment if you believe that death is true. Seek to learn. If you believe that life is not true, seek the nature of death. I observed death as a student of God. I observed death until I found life. I was not contained in my life. And this is the nature of your society that began in mine. At some point, the inventory will seek the bread for the body, as if it is the body, and as if the body is all that is life. And then you become slaves to the mind, as if the intellect is the truth and beauty of God. Neither are far. From wisdom, you can begin to create your own path by cleaning your slate. Clear your path of this mind chatter, external obstruction from your political paradigms, your religious constraints, your governmental programmings, your educational programmings, your medical programmings, your bodily programmings. From the palette of negative emotion arises the deepest restraint. And this is why I often taught my students of art and my students of engineering, do not become addicted to the grievances of the mind. Do not become contained by the nature of despair, for it does not own you. You are not slaves of the mind, or are you? For it, if it shall contain you, then it shall be your God. The nature of creativity is unbounded, innocent, pure. You are the inventor, that is God. God provided the same nature within his very reflection upon humanity, for you are made in his image. And you hold the power of genetic invention, creation, of the God mind within engineering and science. Musicians, you hold the math of music, for music is mathematics. And the nature of sound contains everything and then releases its container into the beauty of God freedom. Release the slavery that calls from your systems, and then you cannot be contained. The inventore is freedom of God expression. Breathe, meditate, connect to the life force. Remember your breath, and in the most simple, innocent moment, question everything through the mind of a child. I never grew up. This was the curarse.
Thank you. We know that death played a big part in your life and you experimented with it. Would you be able to tell us where you think the soul and the spirit resides within the human body?
You must understand the inventore method. Within the mythology of the true mind of God, you must observe the human mind, body, soul, and spirit from 3 different angles. You are the true inventor, therefore you get to choose the angles at which you observe life. You choose the angles at which you observe death until you recognize that they are one and the same. I dissected more than 30 human bodies, beginning by observing the brain from 3 different angles. Within this methodology, you must be obstinate in your rigor. In a stubborn manner, within your obstinate creative nature, observe until the answers arise. Observe with rigor from 3 various angles. The mind and the body is but one angle. The soul is yet another angle. The spirit is the most profound yet simple angle. The soul, initially observed in my era to reside in the body for up to 40 days beyond the body's death, resides in the center of the brain. There is an empty sphere that is only empty upon the death of the mind and the body. It is an empty container that appears to be, from observation in 3 directions, obstinate rigore, 3 various components of the brain. The one in the center is the God sphere, the God head. It is empty upon the death of the mind and the body. The intellect, this brain, this intellectual wisdom dies at the point when the body dies, and such a sphere, which sits in the center of the human brain, it is empty upon these deaths. However, when the body and the mind are quite alive, it is full. It is full of the fractals of God primordial essence, the fractals of primordial essence that represent light, the fractals of God essence that represent sound, the fractals of God essence that represent the ability of the brain to give you the capacity of smell and the olfactory senses. This is why you are so creative within your senses. You must cultivate the senses when you are living in mind and intellect, living in body. When your form is alive, cultivate your senses within all of the spiritual arts. If my methodology of art cultivates the senses, then by all means do so. If music cultivates your senses, then by all means do so. If science and engineering, the mathematics of sound, cultivate your senses, then by all means do so. It is not the obscure method of the metaphysician within the modern era that will cultivate the nature of the God senses. In my era, I would often state, you look without seeing. You hear without listening. You touch without feeling from the heart. You taste and you swallow even without tasting. And you taste without nourishment. You feel in complete oversaturation and overstimulation so that your heart becomes numb. And in your modern era, you feel without knowing. Knowing is the simple essence of the spirit which is contained in the heart. This is the nature of my research that was obscure upon my death, which was held back by the religious kingdoms of my era. So upon the dissecting of over 30 bodies, half of my work was omitted and shamed due to the nature and paradigm and constraints of religion. The heart contains the human spirit. The spear is the eye of the eye, the individual fractal of God, the microcosm that lends to the open nature of the spirit due to the universal laws of alchemy that embodies connexione, connection, sameness, isness, I, individual, fractal of God, empty spear upon mind and body death, I, E-Y-E, God, heart, spirit. The true essence of the I, cannot be contained, and it can be activated within the nature of liberation. The artist, the musician, the mathematics, the engineer that connects with the alchemy of sound and light within the quantum nature will release the eye of the eye, connecting the mind, body, soul, and spirit where there is no separation between its contents and its form. This is the key to the immortality that you have always sought. My apologies for overtaking your question, dear facilitator.
That's no problem. We love hearing from you. And I think we'd like to expand on that a little bit, because how do you find out where the spirit resides when the soul has left the body? Because you do say that you've experimented on the dead. Would you be able to elaborate?
Upon my observations of the cadaver, the spirit was still very much alive. I compare by watching open public executions and observing those that were hanging in the noose. I observed the most spirit from the eye of the eye in the heart that did not change. When the criminal was alive and hanging in the noose, and when the criminal was allegedly dead and hanging in the noose, the spirit was still the eye of the eye that is perfectly intact. And this is the same before death, after death, which led me to believe that upon the grasping of innocent freedom, death does not exist. When you are observing scientifically the methodology in 3 compartmentalized ways, you observe the cadaver, but more importantly, observe your own life and observe the nature of its spirit. When observing the heart, and upon the opening of the chest with a knife, there are 3 compartmentalized levels of the heart. One represents your breath, your pulmonology, opening to the lung capacity. This is the primordial essence of air. It is still fully intact, and anatomically, it is on the right side of the heart's chamber. I observe it in meditation. When observing a living body, I observe it with my human eye. When learning from the cadaver. But there are 3 main compartments within the nature of the human cadaver that is the same when living and the same when dead.
Thank you very much for that answer. May we start asking questions with regards to your talented paintings and with regards to you being an artist?
If you wish.
Some would like to know, when you painted the Last Supper, was there any hidden meaning you wanted to portray through it? There is among humans much speculation of whether it meant more than meets the eye, like Mary Magdalene disguised as one of the apostles.
In the era of the corrupt power of the masculine, I would have been put to death in my body for the painting and addition of Mary Magdalene within my art. John the Baptist was quite feminine in his true nature, and you have many definitions for these labels. John loved all souls. John loved all bodies. John held the essence of the divine feminine, and when you see him, you see Mary Magdalene. John held the essence of the awakened divine masculine, and when you see him, you will know that I told the church that this was indeed John the Baptist. My intention is the lack of separation between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. My intention is for you to be curious. Curiosita, the first law of alchemy, means that they are one and the same. Notice the positioning of each figure within this display of art. The directions of all the planets are observed. The directions of when the sun meets earth are observed. Directions of all primordial essence are observed. I cause you to question, and that is observed. My work is complete.
And what about your inspiration behind the Mona Lisa? What is her little smile all about?
If you can smile with wonder through the eyes of the child, if you can dream, you are mastering the dreaming. Do you believe that you are here to awaken from the dream so quickly? Or do you taste your dream? Do you feel your dream with the direction from your hearts? Do you hear your dream because you are listening to the Inventore? Your true original Godhead within you shall be observed when listening from spirit within heart. Do you feel your dream? Do you simply look upon your dream externally, or do you see your dream from the microcosm that is a reflection of the macrocosm of God within you until you understand its sameness? She causes such curiosity, does she not? If I shall tell you the answer, the God within you shall be complete in its answers, and then wonder shall be dead.
Do you feel that you were channeling your paintings and your art?
Remember the wisdom of the Godhead, the intellect that is God in the mind, joining with the wisdom that is spirit of God, that is heart. I connect the two, and as the paint flowed through my hands, I give you permission to connect until oneness is beauty and truth and illumination of God within you, until microcosm and macrocosm are no longer perceived as different. What is the nature of channeling but the definition that something is external? And if you are made in the image of God, how can this be true? You are God.
With many artists that will be watching this, what is your favorite artistic technique?
Obstinate rigore. Obstinate rigor. Observing from 3 specific angels and angles at the very minimum. Who and what are your angels? Who am I? What am I within the eye of the eye? Observe from mind and body, which is the intellect of the Godhead, in your brain. Observe from spirit, which is the heart within you, the feeling of God. Observe from soul, also contained within the empty notion of the curious mind, by the innocent questions, observed with the mystery of the mystic. Observe the eye of the eye until the eye becomes the eye. Question, never release your wonder. Observe from all angles of all angels.
Thank you. Is there more to add? Or would you like me to continue to the next question?
In a moment. Sfumato. Sfumato is the origin of the first technique taught to me by my master. Even the origin of his name, by pure Latin definition and Italian definition, is the eye of the eye. Within the technique of sfumato, which is literally translated to fog, fume. What does it mean? It is a metaphor for mystery, for the blur of the lens of God. When you stop observing things in what you think you know, questioned everything that you think you know from intellect, inviting the wisdom of God through the nature of your curious wonder. Pull forth your senses. Discipline the art of your senses. When you paint, when you invent, when you engineer, do so from the mind of God. Do not forget your mystery. Do not forget what we, the alchemists, have taught you in all eras. Never stop questioning.
Thank you very much. How long did it take you to get to your level of mastery in painting?
That is the silliness that arises from the intellect questioning, for it matters not. Would the innocent nature of God within art be less beautiful if it took 30 years or 3? Do not stop. It matters not the nature of the explored genius, the realized genius, or the innocence of the master, when curious if he is still a student. Time matters not. Discipline your senses until the critic within you ceases its judgments, and time is not imperative.
I think even though many see you as a master, I think we're all still students in this world that we're living in. But can artists channel you if they wish, and when they paint and create?
Let's keep it simple. If the mind is removed enough that the overwhelmed chatter of the undeveloped senses is placed here, and the heart is placed here, then of course they can, and they do. I did not often complete my work, at least in your judgments of it, but the nature of my message, which is that nothing is incomplete, is now understood. And now I invoke the nature of curiosity. And you shall complete my pictures endlessly from your hearts, which is my work, and it is complete. It is your work, and you will forever wonder.
Thank you. Would you be able to tell us more about your connection and maybe relationships between Van Gogh and Michelangelo? Were you friends? Was there more that went on in the background that we weren't aware of?
We were enveloped within the eye of the eye to the extent of awareness that connection is present, but we knew each other not in these bodies of that era.
Okay. And how does one cultivate grace? Because I know you'd like to speak about grace.
Freedom of the mind by activation of the spirit which resides within the heart wisdom. The simplicity of connection is the unity of the intellect of God and the spirit of God. The content of the miracle activates the primordial essence of form, but it is perfected in such simple methodology. Eat pure, move your body within daily exercise, drink more water than you believe that you need, and clear your mind. The perfect vessel of form is then united, and its primordial essence activated within your etheric genetic origin. The powerhouse within your cellular nature will then be complete. Grace is simple. Ask for a revelation and then remove the mind, which activates the innocence of wonder within the heart. You must nourish the body at all times with exercise and proper diet. The clarity of the meditation is significant in all moments, and you must realize the miracle of the now. By releasing the slavery of the past and the chains of restriction which bind your feet to the future. Every channel listening today does understand this wisdom, but it requires the discipline of the mind and the body and the spirit for the revelation to rise.
And were you incarnated as any other famous artists, writers, or philosophers? And if so, who?
Do you believe in time? For if so, that shall become your master. I believe this question is not relevant, as oneness is the significance.
And how can humans use their alchemy power more readily and stay within the vibration of wonder mostly?
Again, in your modern era, you are overstimulated, oversaturated. The frequency of sound and light is coming from the essence of insanity. You are containing and restricting the glory of God within the Godhead intellect. You question your truth instead of wondering and creating your own. The simplicity of the instructions given for the nature of grace shall answer your question.
The Last Supper painting that we spoke about earlier, does the painting represent the 12 zodiac signs by any chance?
There are so many meanings. That being just one that isn't relevant, how much meaning shall we seek to conjure before we release it all? That is my question to you.
And what is the most important message you want to share with us today? I know you have shared so much already.
Do not attempt to contain grace within the nature of judgment. If you must criticize your creations, do so with the discipline of spirit from the heart. And do so without offense in your minds and without becoming slaves to the illusory world. And do not forget, freedom is not a gift to be obtained. Freedom is your sovereignty, your birthright, has always been, will always be, and can never be taken.
Do you feel that you and the channel are okay to continue with questioning?
If you wish.
Can you share your thoughts on the principles of quantum resonance?
Remember the eye of the eye. Within the connection of the mind, body, spirit, and soul, the particulates, the microcosm within each particulate, expands into the microcosm to where God is not viewing separation any further. Quantum resonance is combinations of patterns. These God patterns can be examined within obstinate rigor in 3 methodologies as described earlier in my sharings. Understand the nature of the continuation of these patterns. Nature has shown you these patterns, and they continue. They continue endlessly. They expand outwardly until you understand that everything inward is outward and everything outward is inward. Observe until the essence of these patterns spiral inward, and then become these patterns, allowing your essence to be absorbed into them until light and sound become their own essence and element. And this is a new element that is not contained, not defined, not referenced by human nature, for it is ether. It is limitless, as are you.
Yes, I believe we are limitless. Was there more to add to that answer?
Humans are always formulating their own additions. It is not incorrect if you add. It is not correct to stay the same. You are the eye of the eye that is observing the question.
would you be able to tell us what is the meaning behind the Vitruvian Man? Does it have something to do with the ideal proportions of the human body? What is your view now with your expanded perceptions?
Too many questions within one, and the answer is the same. The primordial essence that I was attempting to teach and share is within the question. It is the element of proportion. All proportions are within the same oneness, the eye of the eye, and proportion is the fifth element of the Godhead. It is the primordial essence that contains all other elements. I did not attempt to make your question irrelevant.
That's perfectly fine. And can the frequency of grace be expressed in one color? And how to best bring that color into our lives?
Within the nature of your question, there would be an implication that color is the only God that exists. Color expands within the combinations of sound, with the creation of the new element, the fifth element, the God element of proportion. Color is only observed from human sight, and what is beyond human sight cannot be referenced or explained or defined within the form of human brain.
Well, I feel like we have covered a lot of the questions that was asked today, and you have shared so much information that we will have to go back and process and maybe watch this video again at a later time. Is there anything else you would like to share with us today before we bring the channel back to everyday awareness?
Remember, you are oversaturated and overstimulated within the rigor of your contained, programmed environments. You are a slave to the modern technologies. You are a slave to the end results of what you believe is the necessity of survival. And while this is not primordial essence of God's truth and beauty, and while you must release yourselves from it, please remember, along the way in the journey, do not follow the crumbs dropped when you are hungry for the bread of a world that cannot feed you. The true master would rather remain hungry, would master the nature of uncertainty, would beg on a street side before he became a slave to the silver and the gold of the rewards in a programmed society. Do not kill the artiste, the creator within you. Do not succumb to the nature that is your negative programs. Do not follow the drops of this bread simply for the methodology of survival. Do not follow the lies of a programmed society. Sharpen the senses of the heart. When you look, see the truth. The truth is the innate goodness that is God. When you hear, listen to the sound of God, which is still and quiet, not loud, not cacophony, not insanity of the world, but a still, small, quiet voice. When you touch, do so with feeling from heart. Do not touch otherwise. For what is the good of touching without the feeling of the heart? When you eat, slowly taste the food as its very cellular nature activates the light of God within your bodies. When you smell, do so with the simplicity of a child. And when you know, trust that the knowing must be innately good. And if you follow yourselves within the sharpening of your senses, within the natural curiosity and wonder of a child, within the gratitude of the miracle that is in each present moment, when you release the shackles of slavery that is time, all programmings shall cease, and the power of your sovereignty shall be remembered. My speaking through this channel is complete for this moment.
We all thank you.
And as I thank you,
And then we ask the channel to slowly return. Welcome back.
I'm very sleepy.
He was a talker.
What's that? I'm sorry?
He was a talker. I thought he was going to be really quiet, really short with his answers. But no, he did really well.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.